Hello everyone, I'm Wendall Jones and welcome to this weekend edition of our program, The Platform, which we really are calling the NIGAD Forum because we are working in conjunction with NIGAD Inc. to do a number of educational programs. We are calling it the Health Forum. And Bianca NIGAD is here as usual, and it's always good to see Bianca. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you.
Very good. And what she has done this weekend, she has organized some young nurses to be here so that we can continue our conversation about non-communicable diseases, chronic non-communicable diseases. Last week, I think we did something on exercise.
Yes, on exercise and how to eat right and healthy, and we were touching on the fact of the Bahamas having a lot of obesity and what are we doing about it now. And so it's very exciting to have these ladies on the show with us today to talk about what's going on in the Bahamas.
Excellent, excellent. And let us introduce them. Maria Butler, who is a trained clinical nurse. She is attached to the Flamingo Gardens Clinic. Good to see you.
Hello.
And also Ashanique Anderson, who is a registered nurse in the chronic non-communicable diseases area. She's a coordinator in that area. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Ms. Anderson.
Thank you.
She is an Eleuthera Anderson, right?
Yes. That's
And
right.
she asked me, what am I having to eat for lunch? So you've been working with people who have been afflicted with these non-communicable diseases. For starters, let's tell the public what you consider non-communicable diseases to be.
Okay, firstly, chronic non-communicable diseases, or CNCDs as we call them, are diseases that affect persons from genetics or from persons' eating habits. Persons in community cannot catch these diseases from simply touching or being around someone. It is what you eat or it's what you have been born. For example, persons who have hypertension, they are at risk for getting hypertension from probably family history. Also, there are diabetes, there's asthma, but at Flamingo Gardens, we try to focus mainly on hypertension and diabetes because those are the leading factors would end up with heart failure, kidney disease, and amputations. And right now in the Bahamas, we have the highest amputation rate because of persons not maintaining their hypertension levels or their diabetes levels. So currently, we're trying to prevent that, reduce it, and by doing this, it saves lives. So we focus mainly on trying to save those feet. Your feet are important.
Tell us about the incidents you see in our country of things like hypertension and diabetes.
Well, at Flamingo Gardens Clinic, our boundaries right now is one of the largest. We run from Blue Hill Road heading north by the Tonic William Darling Highway. We go on to JFK, go all the way into Coral Harbor if you're going in like a square or circle. That will include Carmichael Road, Cowpen Road, a part of Marshall Road, a part of even the South Beach area, come back around onto the East Street, onto Blue Hill South, into Garden Hills and those. And those large populations, a lot of them come in for hypertension and diabetes. So we would roughly say 98% of our clientele will see us in CNCD.
And you are talking about hundreds of people.
Yes.
Hundreds of people.
Hundreds, probably thousands.
Yes, sir.
And so it has to be something that is causing this high incidence of chronic non-communicable diseases in our country. And I suspect it has to do with what we eat.
Yes,
Yes,
it
it
is.
does.
Because of what we eat. Like I watched the previous show and the bread basket items, they're not healthy. Most of them are not healthy. And persons do this because they can't afford to, what they call, buy the healthy things, because healthy things are quote unquote expensive. So because persons aren't getting sufficient of the dark green leafy vegetables, they're not getting up, going out and exercising, they're just filling up their systems with unsaturated fats, whole rice, the KFCs, the fast foods, all of these different things. Sorry not to call the names of the establishments, but all of the fast food restaurants, not getting exercise and just laying down after eating, all of that helps build these hypertension, diabetes, because of the intake that we're taking them in at.
And so since you did mention KFC, there's nothing wrong with eating KFC, right? Let's get that clear. So
In moderation.
In moderation.
In
You just want to
moderation.
make that clear.
Important.
Yes.
Well, now a lot of these fast food companies are having healthy options, because I think the whole world is actually going into healthy options where people want that more for themselves now, you know?
Yeah.
And it's really about habit change. So we always make excuses about why we can't eat, why we can't pack a fruit with us, why we can't pack a vegetable with us, why we can't feed our kids that because our children will not eat that food. But really we shouldn't be, it's not a reward to give them that food and to not learn these healthy eating habits. It's more of a treat if they get a nice fruit. And we have to have them start thinking that way too, right? So it's adjusting our thinking.
Lifestyles and our thinking, yes.
Ms. Anderson, you mentioned breadbasket items. And what should, or should we just stop talking about breadbasket items? If we are going to talk about breadbasket items, what are they? What should they be?
My take on the breadbasket items would be have more green leafy vegetables in there. If we're going to do the rice, try to have more whole grain rice, whole wheat bread, and things more of the healthy nature instead of just things that are cheaper, because cheaper isn't always good.
And so you go to a supermarket and you pick up corned beef and tuna and rice and stuff like
Processed.
that, and processed foods, and you figure, well, these are breadbasket items, and these breadbasket items that people think are breadbasket items, not necessarily good for you.
Correct. Very much so, because let's think about the corned beef and the tuna. They're stored with salt, high levels of salt. And because of this high level of salt, and you know us Bahamians, we like to season some more, you know, because we got to have that flavor. All of this excess sodium being floating around inside the body on a constant basis puts you at a higher risk for developing hypertension.
Are you suggesting then that people ought to decrease the amount of salt and sugar that they are using?
Yes, I would suggest that they do that, as well as the amount of carbs, like the amount of rice, the amount of potato salad, coleslaw. On a Sunday afternoon, Bahamians tend to have peas and rice, potato salad, coleslaw, macaroni, plantain, and 2 to 3 or so different types of meats. This is not a very good choice of meal to have. Not if you want to maintain a healthy lifestyle to live longer. That right there, whew, that's an accident waiting to happen.
And you shouldn't want to eat peas and rice every day.
No, you shouldn't want to eat it every day. Or if you do eat it every day, a little handful, and then more vegetables. And your meat, also about the size of your hand.
Now, meat, is it good for you? What do you say about meat? Because there are a whole lot of people who have decided, well, you know, I'm going to be a vegetarian. I'm not going to eat meat. Is there something wrong with eating meat?
I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with eating meat, because you get your protein from it. But however, if you're having meat on a constant basis, sometimes there are persons who have diseases like gout, and they are at risk for, when they continuously eat this red meat, let's just say red meat, they develop nitric crystals in their joints. When this nitric crystal develops in the joints, it causes swelling, and persons aren't able to use the function of their hands or their feet because of the constant eating of the red meat. So everything in moderation.
Sugar intake. That is another thing that we ought to talk about, right? The amount of sugar that we consume. A whole lot of people, they have a sweet tooth, they say. Right?
Don't we all?
Well, when you think about what she's saying, when we do our moderations or our portions, we have these fruits and these vegetables that have the nutrients and all of the vitamins and other good stuff that we need. And when we choose our fruits is the good sugar. You know, people say, well, I just drink the green tea. So they feel like they're doing something good, but they're adding that sugar in there. And what we usually tell our clients is nothing white. No white bread, no white sugar, no white flour. So you kind of get the idea of what it is you need to stray away from or have less of.
Are you suggesting then that brown sugar is better, or you should use brown sugar, not white?
You can use brown sugar and the brown rice as well. And on top of that, what I find myself telling clients to understand is your body is living cells. And while you've been training yourself to have this habit of choosing the bad stuff, you can retrain those cells to accept the good sugars and the good fats, and you will feel the difference in your body. It's a process, so you're not going there and stop right away. You can easily just add, like she said, choose a fruit. You want a snack, get like nuts or a bar, or oatmeal bar, raisins. It can be dried, it can be fresh, but those cells are alive. So most of the things we eat are what? Dead. Let's rejuvenate those cells.
Okay, interesting. You know, there are a whole lot of people who exercise, like, you know, Bianca is in an exercise class. She goes to a gym, right?
Goodman's Bay.
Goodness me. And even though they are exercising, they're not eating properly, right? So let's speak to that. Let's speak to all of these people I see running on our streets and running on Goodman's Bay, and they are working out, but yet they go home and they pile it on. So let's talk about those type people.
Well, in that instance, I guess they're saying they're getting one thing out of the way. They're making a start, because it's one thing to just be there complacent, not doing anything, not eating right, and not exercising. But at least they're making the initiative to say, let me get out there and exercise, because I know my eating habits aren't the best. And I can't kill them for that. That's a start. And most times when they start getting out there and they're running, and I'm sure they're following different ads out there on how to eat better or drinking more water, they start off small, you know, because it's not, well, okay, I'm just gonna go out there and run and exercise and not do anything. I'm sure they're making small changes, even though it may not be so huge to the other human eye. They're probably having a fruit a day, or they're probably having a salad, but they're just not changing. They're having the bamboo shack later, or they're having their big Wendy's breakfast in the morning, you know?
You would like to call the name of my advertisers. Bamboo Shack advertises with me, okay? And Bamboo Shack is good.
Yes, I love Bamboo Shack and I love Wendy's.
Okay?
But in moderation.
In moderation.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing. It's about changing habits. And sometimes you don't know that something that you're eating is actually bad for you. You know, we have a WhatsApp group, and so we're posting our food, which makes us accountable for our food. But some people I see maybe would choose a certain chip. Now I can't even talk about it either. There would be like a chip that says that it's a healthy chip, right? But there's no such thing as a healthy chip, actually. So you're confused. You know, you think you're making a good choice, and you're really not making a good choice. So like you were saying before, it's best to stay away from white things and prepackaged things, right? And that's a good start. And Mr. Jones, when we're out there working hard, we're drinking lots of water. Nobody's drinking like a soda in between or something. So it is a good start. And as you start and maybe have a day where you can relax and cheat, your cheat day to ease yourself into it. And what actually happens is when you go for that cheat day, and after eating healthy all week, now you're going to go on this cheat day, your body actually feels terrible.
Yeah.
And then that's an awesome thing too, because then you stop doing those cheat days as often or as big of portions and something. So it's all about this lifestyle change. But what I actually don't know is, how often am I supposed to get checked at the doctor to see if I'm not going to be a diabetic, I'm close to it, or something like, how often should one go?
Well, annuals are done every year. Persons who are healthy go and do their annuals every year to detect any illnesses. Like you're saying, if you want to check to see if you're diabetic, you do your blood works, you have your physical examination by your physician, and once you're cleared, you're good. You get to do it every year. But if you feel as though you're on that verge of being diabetic, or it runs in your family, or hypertensive, I would suggest you go in every 3 to 6 months to keep track of it. Okay. But if you're already diagnosed with hypertension or diabetes, it's suggested that you see your clinic or your physician every 3 months, at least, for follow-up care, to make sure that your medications are you're still in your medications, you don't run out, also your blood works are all within good range, and your pressure is maintained.
Okay. How does one know without going to a physician that you're hypertensive? Is there a particular, people come to you telling you that they felt a particular way?
Well, Mr. Jones, do you know hypertension is considered to be the silent killer?
Yes.
So if you have risk factors, it runs in your family, you know your eating habits, you're not an active person.
Also being black puts you at risk as well.
If you are a black person, you are at risk?
Yes.
If you're overweight, or, you know, these are reasons you would go and check. And sometimes persons just complain about pain, headaches.
In the back of the head.
Yeah, tension.
Tension, headaches.
Yes, at the back of the head mainly.
And had no idea. They just walk in the clinic and say, I want you to check my pressure.
Okay.
And we can't let them leave because we check the pressure and it's
very elevated.
Very high.
And what about diabetes?
Well, with diabetes, the only way we can detect that is if persons are coming in and having their blood sugar levels tested. And once we notice that it's high, we'd ask for them to come back and not eat anything the night before, to do a fasting blood glucose test. That's what we call it, or HbA1c. That's what we use to determine if this person has diabetes and how has the sugar level been maintained over the past 3 months, to determine if they're actually diabetic or not.
Before you get to that, we have symptoms of diabetes. I know, you know, sometimes you feel things, people diagnose themselves at home because they get Google. But
yes, the Google doctor.
You have excessive thirst. You have the tingling of the feet, frequent urination. In your diabetes, it's so that it affects not just your sugar, it bothers with your eyesight. So you have the possibility that you have to go to check your eyes. Diabetes can affect your blood vessels, your nerves, and that's why we try to save a feet, because if diabetes is not maintained, found out in a timely fashion, you end up, what we say is diabetes and hypertension are cousins, and a complication of the two of those are kidney failure. And amputation is also under that complication.
So if you have diabetes as well as hypertension, you can very quickly go into renal failure.
It depends.
If not managed.
Right. Because we're here for prevention, reduction, and management or maintenance. Because either we're trying to stop you from getting the disease, we're trying to help you manage it, or we're trying to reduce having the
effects, the negative effects of, for example, amputation.
Right.
Now, there are people who are challenged and they have constant headaches, for instance. And if you have migraine headaches, I had a friend, for instance, who had migraine headaches almost every week, and she went to a physician. And the doctor said, well, you know, I'm going to give you some things for this migraine. And her blood pressure was normal, all right? And then some months later, she was told that she had renal failure.
Wow.
Well, so she was not being properly diagnosed, right?
Well, you can say that, but, you know, when you go to the doctor, it depends on
What you
the
tell
history
them.
that you're sharing.
Exactly.
And they treat you based on what it is that you tell them, outside of doing tests to determine what is it really is going on in your body, because we can't see it. We can only go on the information we're getting from you and what is presented in front of us, which is the signs and symptoms that we would normally look for based on what history we've gotten from that client.
Okay.
So for her to be in renal failure, did she have any pre-existing
Right, that's what I
conditions?
wanted to find
Does
out.
it run in her family? Did she
Right.
have hypertension? Was she on medication, not taking it?
Mm-hmm.
Because we have a lot of clients, they go to the herbal stuff, or they just decide altogether that they are not taking the
Come
meds.
off of those.
But we see them again, and they sit in front of us and say, I'm not taking my meds. Number one question, are you out of them? Do you need a refill? No, I'm just not taking them. So now you have to go to them and you have to motivate them to understand you need to do this. When you come off your medication, when the persons end up there, because of course I'm saying we try, they are trying to nurse themselves, and I say to them, okay, you tried it your way, and this is your blood pressure. Give us a chance now. Take those medication exactly as the doctor described and prescribed, and then come back to us and let us do this
Match you.
together. Because when we have clients in front of us, it's 90% them and 1% us. We want to motivate them to see the need to change, to see the need to do what it is that we are helping them.
Yes.
Because we are there.
And you have people who come to you and they say, well, you know, I have this condition, but I am praying about it, right?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes.
I'm not claiming this.
I'm not claiming this.
It's true,
I don't
it's
have
true.
this. My doctor tell me I have this, but I don't have this.
Yes,
I'm not
Yes.
claiming this.
it is so real.
That is the case.
And I'm going to pray about this, and the Lord is going to take this away from me.
Okay.
Yeah.
You find these things happening.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All of the time.
All the time.
Yes.
And there are a whole lot of men, I am told, who are on hypertension meds, who do not like to take their hypertension meds because it affects some other things.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's true. You
Yes.
have to meet them where they are.
Yeah.
What do you mean you meet them where they are?
Well, in a case for a male who chooses not to take the hypertension medication because something else is going to happen, okay, so you're not taking a hypertension medication and you want to engage in these sorts of activities.
Yeah, the sexual drive.
Yes.
You won't be able to do that if you're dead, are you?
Not only that, because of the circulation of the blood, it still would not go where it needs to go if you're not taking the medication. So,
And the medication is really to assist with circulation and having the blood circulate in the right places.
yes, sir.
Because they're more interested in the other thing. So I'm trying to help you so that you can continue your normal life.
Yes.
But there are people who decide that, well, you know, I'm not going to take these meds because they have side effects. They're going to cause some other problems. And you do have side effects from the meds that you give for hypertension and diabetes, right?
Yes, we do. And when that happens, we ask that you come back in so that we can put you on something else that can probably be better for you and wouldn't give you these negative side effects. But we wouldn't ask that you just completely stop the medication, don't come in, don't say anything, and later on you come in because you're suffering from a stroke. We don't want that to happen. We don't ever want it to get to that level.
Or somebody down the road say, man, bush medicine is good for this thing. And I understand that if I use love vine with something else, it would help my situation. What do you say to that person?
Bush medicine and the other medication don't mix. So don't do it together. If you're going to take one, take one. If you're going to take the other, just take the other. Do not mix both medications. But in that instance, still come in and see us. Let us have a talk with you before you decide to do whatever it is you want to do. Because you as an individual still will do what you want to do, regardless of what we say. But we would hope that based on our expertise and our knowledge and experience, you would trust us with that information to listen to us and carry it out.
Very good. Well, let's take a break. And when we return from our break, and we continue our conversation with Maria Butler and Astronaik Anderson, my good friend, Bianca Naigad. We're going to talk about the importance of exercise as well. Let's take this break and we'll come right back.